It's 5:01.
We can start, yeah.
Okay, so we want to welcome our new member, Steve Mendoza,
Thank
to
you,
the
thank you.
Personnel Board.
Thank you very much, madam.
Mhm.
It's a pleasure to be serving.
Yeah, thank you. So the first item on the agenda is status of open positions. And Ray did give us an attachment on all of this. So do you want to go through this, Ray, or okay?
Union negotiations and senior open enrollment, and
Oh,
I could go on and on,
Yeah.
but
Ray, I'm trying
Sure.
to not interrupt the whole night, but before we start, this is the same one, or is this the same one you gave the selectmen?
it's updated.
Oh, okay, but it's, okay, thanks.
Yes, it's
Better.
No, because I watched the meeting and I heard the comments they had, but as long as I can follow what they had.
Yep.
I'll stop.
Yep. So these are the same ones. A couple of updates on that.
Okay.
So they received an updated one, and it's been updated as of this afternoon. We do have the HR coordinator position is posted and open, along with an outreach resource program coordinator for the Council on Aging and a program assistant for Parks and Rec. Those are expected to close on November 21st, and hopefully we can start reviewing applicant submissions shortly thereafter. The parking enforcement clerk with the police department, I believe we're actually past the initial interview stage, and I believe they're extending an
very
offer.
good.
But that was relatively quick for them. Executive assistant for the town administrator is, my understanding is still reviewing applicants. Program coordinator for the Council on Aging extended a conditional offer yesterday, so we're moving on that already. That also moved relatively quickly. Permitting coordinator applicant review just completed this morning. So we're looking to see what the next steps are. We're planning to meet. And then everything after that is just pretty much pending or on hold. The police officers, they don't really fall under the bylaw, but it is one
Yeah.
of the positions that we have open. I do believe we're extending conditional offers for that also. And the recreation coordinator is on hold pending a change to the position as a whole. They do have a budget line item that is in line with the designation, kind of in the direction that they'd like to go in for a senior admin. I am working with them to put a job description together, so hopefully we'll have something soon. Assistant town administrator, that position, draft and a salary survey with recommendation went to the select board. That was originally sent to the town administrator and the chair of the board on the 14th of October. And we're just waiting to hear back from the select board on next steps.
As far as advertising or?
Well, we would have to bring it before the personnel board to
Yeah,
approve that
right.
job description, and if they would like to go forward with the reclassification of it also.
Right. Okay. Well, all righty.
And treasurer collector is the same. It's your usual hold. I do believe that the town administrator is bringing a proposal from the interim forward to the board. He's going to be making a presentation. He'd like to stay on. I don't know what the terms, what the conditions of that are, or
Good.
who's really entertaining it. So I shouldn't say that. Who's actual? What the real what the thought is behind it? If what the feeling is generally, if we're looking to actually get somebody here full time, or if this is working out. I'm removed from that conversation, but as soon as I have any updates, I'll share them with the board.
And that's for the
Treasurer.
the treasurer collector?
Yes.
Yeah. It's been around for a while. Okay. Is there, so I know like this production manager for the community, so you did have interviews already. So,
Mhm.
because I'm just thinking about the length of job advertisements being out there. Is there a deadline date that you have internally that you, because I mean, job advertisements get stale, as you know.
Yep. So
So-
for the bylaw, we have to close the position 2 weeks after the last run. Hopefully, we'll change the language in that. The last run in the item, I'm sorry, let me finish my thought. And the item went from a daily to a weekly. So that now extends our application deadline a whole month, unfortunately. So hopefully, with any changes to the bylaw, we'll be able to kind of circumvent that whole advertising in the item. There's not really any ROI there either. And usually we'll post a position if we anticipate it's going to be difficult to fill a preference deadline so that we can start reviewing applicants on that preference deadline. For example, if I did that with the HR coordinator and kept the position open until filled, any applications I receive before the 21st, on or before the
get-
21st, that's the first pool I'm looking at. And then if I have to go to the second pool, then I'm pulling from anyone who applies up until that point.
Right. Okay. But you don't keep them out there for a long period.
No, the
of time.
production manager has been taken down. I mean, none of these are the only active ones are the most recently posted ones.
Right. Thank you.
We do any other type of recruiting besides just in the paper?
Actively recruiting outside? No. We do have postings other posting sites that we do advertise with, depending on the job, depending on the level of the position. We've sent out kind of feelers through LinkedIn, created graphics when there's time to create them to be able to kind of attract the, people who are looking for positions there, but we're not advertising there. And the big reason for that is we only get one, and they don't really bill on the way that the town bills. But the other part of it is we're still not at a point where we have an applicant tracking system where we can rely on another party or another system to be able to do that kind of surface level review for us, and then kind of reel in the process. So to be more inclusive and to be more open with our hiring practices, we kind of need to establish that kind of a policy and what that practice is. And we've been doing that with departments here and there to be able to kind of weed out the conflicts of interest, take and consider, a substitution
Right.
over a degree requirement, so that we're more skills based and we're more inclusive of our general area and the constituents that we represent.
Okay.
When
Good.
it comes to the salaries, and I'm going to throw this out there. I'm not sure even how the procedure would work and if it's something we can do this year. But it seems like the only time, and I say we, I mean the town as a whole, the non-union positions, the only time they look at the salary is when the job's open, and now we're trying to buy, to get somebody to come here. And I know we've talked about, I don't know what you call it, a salary study or an update or whatever, but I believe that we should be able to approach the finance committee or the selectmen, and that's the part I don't know the correct answer to, and ask them now, I don't know what that would cost, but I'll make up a number. Hey, we need $20,000 to do a salary study now. Because the only time, again, I'm not blaming anybody, but it's like I said, you
Right.
look at these positions, they go, we're not going to get anybody for work for that amount. Yet we had a person work for that amount for 20 years. And then we being the town, didn't seem to it didn't even bother them because that person came to work every day. And then you put it out there to the general public and it said, they wouldn't work for that money. Well, but they are. I mean, you're relatively new. You came in for the money they offered you. I've been here 10 years, but it just seems like I really believe it's something. If again, get an answer from with the finance committee or the selectmen. I don't know how they transfer money at this point. Would you be willing to, we give you a number. We want to hire a firm to do it now, prior to next year's budget, because like I said, we're only addressing
Exactly.
we being the town are only addressing shortages when the applicant pool doesn't meet our needs. So I really believe. Again, I don't know how the procedure. I have to ask.
Yeah,
Mr. Ward,
I
do we send, do we contact the chair of each board, say, hey, this is what we're looking for? And if they say no, at least we've got an answer rather than, keep
Sure.
piecemealing it and, filling it. That's my 2 cents on it.
We've discussed approaching that with this board various times, and one of the biggest issues that we have right now is we can't get an accurate salary study with dated job descriptions that
No,
we have.
we have to.
And our job descriptions right now are written to a point where we're actually defining what the action is rather than what the scope of the work is. For example, gathers the mail rather than administrative functions.
Right.
So,
Well,
okay.
this is just something off. This isn't a real one, but
No,
gets coffee instead of stocks the,
no.
the break room, things like that.
I agree with you. And I don't know what, well, I do know what happened, but the second year I was here, the firm that they hired was doing that with you.
Mhm.
So they had a guy sit down in front of me and he took my old, to your point, sat down with the job description and one-on-one and made the changes. What happened with it after that, I couldn't tell you. This was 9 years ago. The second one they didn't do that. They just took the old one, which didn't work. I mean, let's be honest. But if we could get a firm that would
That's not
help us
valid.
with, with what you're saying, like, okay, maybe it'll cost a little bit more, but they'd sit down, because you're right, we keep talking about job descriptions and another 2 months has gone by and, to your
Yeah.
point, I don't think people gaff it off, but they have other things that are priority.
But
other
can
than-
you set out a deadline?
Yeah, well, maybe that's it too.
Can't you
Well,
set a
I mean,
deadline?
part of that is going to be like the enforcement of that
Okay.
deadline, and who's going to be receiving all of those. But really, another big part of this is recognizing that this firm that we hired in 2017 to do our job descriptions and our salary studies didn't write these jobs based on the needs of the work of the department, but did it based on what the person who was performing the job was doing. So that is the biggest thing that we need to tackle. And the Council on Aging is doing a spectacular job at doing that right now. And they need to bring that back to their
Yes, she
board.
brought some.
So we're looking at, and I'm working with them to be able to broaden those jobs and to be able to define them a little bit more clearly. Because if we go and do another salary study, I mean, the process for us to go get money is to approach them with the finance committee with the bids that we received, put out the RFP. Here are the bids that we received so that we can do all of this. And then we can ask for the money to see what we could do for July 1st, if that's the case. It's not going to be a difficult process to put that together at all. And last February, Finance Committee, this board and the select board all agreed we needed another salary study.
Yeah.
But we've had 2 meetings here also when we've discussed updating job descriptions so we can have an accurate salary study.
Correct.
Because our classifications, we have directors in class D, E, F, G. It
Well,
doesn't make
I
sense.
think, in my opinion, a salary study is useless without updated job description. It's a waste of money.
That's what happened with the last,
Mhm.
really, I mean, I was here and I don't want to go on and on because again, we only have an hour, but
So,
yeah, to Joni's point, maybe it's something.
I mean, you touch every department, right? As HR potentially?
Try
So
I
can't
have to.
you just?
I've asked, I've let people know that we're going to be formally asking to update job descriptions, but we put this deadline through. We work together with them. I can work with them to put something together that actually is not an item by item, one of those that spells out every duty and gives us
Yeah.
no flexibility as an employer. And quite frankly, just it creates kind of like a stale working environment for whoever takes it with no room for growth, right? No room to learn.
And you're right, I think we're all saying the same thing here, but if you're
Yeah.
going to get a salary study and every department isn't equally represented,
Mhm.
and, like you said, everybody's busy, so okay, you use the example of the senior center, theirs are all, they're getting all theirs ready and theirs are
Right.
good. And then, let's say I had a bigger department and I didn't do it. Well, it's a disservice when the salary study is going to look at the ones that were done correctly
Exactly.
and the people that didn't.
Mhm.
I don't know.
I
I
would
don't have the
recommend
answer
you did
here.
it. I wouldn't recommend we move forward until we have.
You
them
have all of
updated.
them.
Which-
And we also have an idea on how we would like to classify our employees, because if we go in blindly, we're going to wind up with the same situation we have now. We need to define our executive functions. We need to define how they operate and what those roles are, how they operate relative to their appointing authority.
Mhm.
I
There's
guess
a lot to consider.
And I think answering my own question here, that I think if it takes that much time, it's not going to take effect. It's not going to be in for July or next June's town meeting, so that these same,
No,
and again, I'm not blaming anyone. I just think it's I don't know, a result of the way the business has been done, but these people are going to be making have the same job description, be on that same salary grid, another, because town meetings in June.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if everything's not done by April, you're
right.
because the finance committee and go into that, but they've got to sit down with all the departments sometime in, March, April timeframe. And it's too late then to say, May 1st. Hey, so I think we're going to be stuck with the same thing. I just wish there was,
Yeah, I think we are.
No,
And
I
trust
really-
me, I would love to move. I'm stuck.
no,
You know what I
and
mean?
that's-
Just like everyone
yeah,
else.
And, and I know just the department heads that came to us in the last 2 years we've been here, that have come in here and you feel like you're saying to them, I agree with you, but I can't do it for you. That's kind of where I think we're at. And
So what I'm hearing is that the job descriptions are
Out-
part of the issue.
Outdated, yes.
So therefore, we're paying based on an old salary. Okay, so if the managers need something, shouldn't they be updating their salary for their employee? That's kind of their responsibility, I would think.
Well,
I'm new, so I'm kind of.
They should update their job descriptions, if they're
Mhm.
looking, I guess when we're replacing someone, they should update the job description and make sure all of the essential functions are
Mhm.
on the job description. And yeah, we can push back but it's a little
Yeah, the
further
barrier
down the
there
road.
too, when we're looking at, and I'm hoping to address this in our updates to the bylaw. But one of the barriers that we have there is we have a vacancy, we need to fill it now because we're so short-staffed. So we need to post it now. So there is a time, by the time the personnel board meets again, to have an updated job description put through. And as you know, we don't put through any salary reclassifications for the current year unless there are some dire circumstances. We usually are making that recommendation for the next fiscal year.
Yeah, because you're right. I mean, you can't, like we said, whether you sit here and you look at one department and say, geez, you're right, your employee should be paid more, but then, then the revolving door starts.
Mhm.
And
But again, that's going to fall back on the manager because the manager isn't updating the procedure, right? That's being unfair to the person they hire. At some point, that person's going to find another job. So it behooves that manager or director to update the policy. I mean, I don't want to be, we don't want to be held hostage because some department doesn't do it.
Mhm.
I mean, it's got to be some mechanism to be able to move the agenda
Well,
forward.
that's just
I imagine.
it. I mean, they're in that position in charge of that department for a reason.
Mhm.
So I guess,
And that-
we'll be
They're
in
gonna
the
say
same boat next year.
I know.
And
We can
And
explore.
this open positions will keep growing.
We can explore the possibility of a firm who will come in and do a salary study, but also help us with formulating our job descriptions. But there needs to be a system of checks and balances, and there needs to be direct involvement from the town administrator, from the select board to help identify those executive functions.
Right.
Those are some big.
But it has to be done.
yeah,
That's the thing.
And I
They
think,
do have to be
like I
done.
said, it is a result of, you look, just in the last couple of years, a lot of the people that left here had been here for so long that they probably got hired without a job description and just
Yeah.
did what, and you can name them all, but, they were here so long and they just got hired. They said, hey, whoever I replaced lived in town and they told me how I did my job and you just keep going. And now, no, and now and they got paid on, I mean, I don't even know what the scale was. I think people just got paid whatever they hired that position at, and nobody really, you weren't competing with the private sector, really. I mean, it was great. I mean, when you advertise, let's say the DPW would advertise for a laborer, they'd have 30 applicants for one job. Now you're trying to find.
Well, I wish that was true.
No, I'm not talking now. I'm
Oh, okay.
talking years ago.
Yeah.
Those jobs were tough to get, and
Yeah.
police force, fire. It was you were telling people no. Now you're like. And it's not just Clinton. I mean, you
Yeah.
deal with the surrounding communities. Yeah, it's hard to fill the public sector.
The public sector is having a particularly
Yeah.
hard time right now.
I mean, just look at town administrators in the surrounding towns.
That's exactly it.
They
That's
can't find
exactly
anybody.
right.
So I could go on and on, but we have an
Everywhere.
hour. So
And I sympathize. I mean, my position description isn't the same, and it hasn't even been a full year for me. You know what I mean? And I understand that. And I think that defining the roles of the departments and their functions and the functions of those positions within them it's going to help us. It's going to be something very helpful to us now and in the
put
future.
the time out there.
Right. So,
But I will say that even with the help coming, it's still going to be difficult to get things like that completed on my part to get it out. But we can certainly try to get these job descriptions updated. We do have plenty of them that are.
but again, the individual
Yeah.
department managers have to be a part of that
Right, of course.
because
They have to initiate, they have to do the first pass.
Right,
Exactly.
right, exactly. It's better something. Let's say I am not good at. If you give you something to draft, and then there's something to work with, whether it's the firm that comes in or someone here. I mean, you could get these. Just look at some of this. Look online at some of the surrounding towns and see what that job description looks like. I'm all for plagiarism.
Let's go.
Just change the name of the title.
PPP.
Yeah. But anyway, that's
But we also need the appointing authority to sign off on the changes. So that's
Oh, yeah.
the other step too.
but at least we get a start.
Go ahead,
Okay.
Steve has a
So,
question.
so just just looking at this overall real quickly. So I'd like to see what the steps happen first. So how do we determine when somebody wants a position, like I'll take Parks and Works, so there's two positions here that wants this to be new, so I've been out of it a little bit. So how do they get a position? Don't they submit a job description first and that gets approved by somebody, right? For the
How do they get
hire?
a new position?
Yeah, exactly. When they create a position, what's the process for that?
So typically it would start with getting a position description written up and getting that approved through their appointing authority before coming to the personnel board for classification.
Okay.
And then the final step would be to get that salary amount approved during the budget season and at town meeting. And if it doesn't go through, my understanding is that it's essentially it hasn't completed.
Right.
It's not officially reclassified or reclassified.
Right. Because once we create it, that's the perfect time to do a correct job description. Sounds like to me.
Right. And that's what I did with the human resources coordinator.
So see this, the parking enforcement clerk, which you see on here.
So that was good.
And I worked with the chief on that. I worked with the director for Parks and Rec on their
Thank you.
updated description. And also I did the HR coordinator.
Yep. All right. So thank you for the update on that. And yes, I think that if we can get that ball moving, I don't know. Next item on the agenda is the personnel bylaw, Steve. So that you know, we've been taking different sections of the bylaws, and it doesn't mean we're going to change all of the bylaws. I don't really know if that's necessary. However, some of the critical things that need updating, we've been taking sections at a time. I think right now, what are we on, section 5?
We revisited section 5. So we started the process over in the spring.
Yeah,
We
we're done.
tabled the whole process because we wanted to get more information, wanted to get the select board's buy-in, but we also wanted to see if there was going to be any fiscal impact with the finance committee. And that section 5 is particularly to benefits, vacation, sick, personal. And a lot of that was changing the language so that it was compliant.
Right.
As well as suggesting a more robust benefits offering in place of not being able to pay more, especially with the financial climate as it is right now. So this is our first time revisiting part 1.
Okay.
So, and then the goal is once we have this done, we'll have the town council look at it and have it ready for the town meeting.
We're also going to
And-
get the select board and finance committees.
But once we're completed with this whole,
Select board already has part 5 at their request. They did request it at the last meeting, so we did send it over to
Yeah,
them.
and I was going to end
All right.
to the end of this, but
okay,
I don't know if it was a misunderstanding or miscommunication, whatever, but none of that chapter 5, nothing should have been presented to the select board because I watched it. And in fact, I had a question from someone else that watched it, town employees, because we as a board said we were going to, go chapter by chapter. But before we were done, we were going to push the entire document out to department heads. The way that was presented or the way it was received, it was as if we had already approved chapter 5 and we were asking the selectmen now, hey, this is what is our final document. And that's not the case.
we voted to complete that
Yes.
review.
Yeah, so
And
that's.
like Brenny said, is to push it out
Correct.
to the department heads to get buy-in, obviously, and make sure things are accurate and whatnot.
Yeah. The only
Um,
part I missed was the department heads. I did put in to get the select board and finance committee's buy-in, but there's a memo in there that says that we've only reviewed part 5.
Right, but it shouldn't have been presented to them yet because it isn't a final document. We just took the changes that night. In fact, I think it was a 3-1 vote to accept the changes as is, but it wasn't a final document. So now their questions, and I watched it, and Chris, you was sitting here, was, they had, in fact, I know Mr. Conley said he needed time to go through it, but they were looking at it as if, that, in fact, I know they asked Attorney Gibbons what the procedure was. To the way that it was received was, this was a document now that we had ready for town meeting, when in fact it isn't. So again, I don't know if it was a miscommunication. I'm
Yeah.
not faulting anybody, but it should have been presented. I don't know if it's going to take, one of us to go to select, but I'm hoping it could be an email to the chair or to the entire board saying, listen, that wasn't that wasn't something that we were presenting as a final document is what my.
And they know that. There was a memo that accompanied that. I'm glad to share it here. But the request was directly from the personnel board, from the select board, to bring forth any proposed changes. The only proposed changes that were approved by this group was part 5. And that was it. That's the only thing that was shared with them. Now, the memo explicitly said that it wasn't something that we were going to necessarily take to meeting, that we were going to get select board buy-in. We were going to determine if there was any fiscal impact, and we were going to seek counsel to make sure that we were doing everything by the book.
Right.
And that was touched on during that meeting, and it was part of that memo. But I'm not going to say no to a select board member when they request information.
But and again, I hate putting you in the middle of it, but the request from the select board for a document for the personnel board should have come to the personnel board. I mean, it's again, I mean, and I don't mean this to sound rude.
We weren't aware it was.
Right, and you're not, and
requested.
I hate me putting you in the middle, but you're not on the
We could
personnel
have,
board.
at
And I-
least one of us could have attended with you to the meeting
That, yes.
to
that's-
speak on that.
That's what I'm saying. And I think it's probably, I don't want to go into a public meeting and go through a big hassle, but I think maybe an email to them saying, hey, listen, like your point, it's not even the chapter 5 isn't a finished document.
Right.
So when they look at it now and then again, town employees are wait, you guys, said your board said you were going to include us. And it looks like we went around them and presented it. And, once a document, you could say this is only a draft, but it throws wings and now it's out there. And again, I'm not saying it was anybody's fault intentionally, but I think it's something they
Well,
need to realize.
I'd argue that because it was presented in an open meeting, anyone could get a copy of it.
Right, but if you look at our meeting, it wasn't a final document. If they wanted to go look at it, fine, but to present it, and then if they have questions on something that is not a final, I guess I'm saying the same thing over and over, but it shouldn't have
It
been
wasn't
presented
a
that way.
final
I
product.
don't know if it's a misunderstanding on their part or.
So that being
Anyway,
said,
that
we
being-
have to move on.
Yes.
I don't know how, I didn't watch the meeting, but I don't know how they left it.
They were going to
Review
bring
it.
any questions and let me know.
Yeah, they said they.
So we'll take questions
Yeah.
and we can discuss it amongst the personnel board and make our.
What I'll do is
recommendations.
I'll have the chair send the requests to the chair of the
Yeah.
personnel board.
I think it should be. And again, I hate putting you in the middle. But-
No.
This is where I am.
Okay, so let's go through part 1 of the bylaws.
So part 1 is mostly just some language changes.
Exactly.
I didn't have, I think there was one.
Okay, so it looks like everything looks good down until then we get to the definitions and then we're looking to amend D. Has the definition of a part-time employee, you're removing permanent. I see how you changed, that's good.
The only, and I've talked about this before, went through it, the only, part that I have a big heartache with is 1.2-2, where that part in red is it 100, it's a 180 from what is in place now. Currently, if the personnel board wants to delegate any of our responsibilities or authority, whatever you want to say, it could be to whoever, whether it's HR, whether it's the town administrator. The biggest example I have is maintaining valuation, right? I mean, none of us work like, but none of us are here, so we, say, hey, we want to vote to store the records with assistant town administrator for the sake of an argument, the board votes. The way this is written, all duties and responsibilities of this board would rest with the HR department unless the board votes to take back their own duties and responsibilities. That's backwards. I mean, the board, in effect, and we don't get paid for this board, so it's not like I'm looking for a job here. What this does is it says the HR is going to run everything unless we vote to take that back. That's backwards. I mean, it doesn't make sense why the board would have to vote to maintain their own authority or responsibility. It should be the way it is right now. Certain things, and again, you presented some, if you come in and say, hey, I think I'd like to take on this duty or this role because again, the ease of it, fine, but there are responsibilities of this board and authority of this board that I think should stay with this board regardless of what position, whether it's HR, whether it's town administrator, whatever, because you have 5 persons that can weigh in when you talk job descriptions or whatever. So I'm not, first of all, I'm not in favor of a lot of the changes, but I'm certainly not in favor of this board having to to vote to maintain their own authority. I don't, doesn't make sense. Why you do it that way?
Well, I'd argue that this isn't giving human resources the authority. It's giving an office the responsibility to act on your behalf, which is what my office does.
Right, which we could do by by individual
So,
items, I guess, rather than in just generally saying, hey, it's all yours, and then you could make decisions. But based off of this, you can make decisions that rest with this board without us knowing. I don't mean you personally, that position, whether it you know, whether in it, I don't know. I'm not in favor of flipping it around.
no, right. So right now it says the personnel board shall be responsible for the administration of the personnel system established by this bylaw, including a classification and compensation plan, and make all necessary administrative rules and procedures to implement the provisions of this bylaw. Okay. Then it says, in the absence of a human resources official, the personnel board may appoint a person to act as their agent by delegating necessary powers and duties and responsibilities to such person in writing. Otherwise, the department head shall act as an agent and delegate of the personnel board. So what is this?
So essentially what this says is we don't have to come to the personnel board for every little thing. So I wouldn't put through a salary reclassification for anybody. I would not act as the sole agent of the personnel board. I would be acting in the interest of the board, in the interest of the bylaw as it's written. The only flexibility I would ask for in the future is to allow us to make small changes to job descriptions that do not affect the integrity of the job, the role, the duties and responsibilities, so that we can attract the right candidate.
And I understand what you just said to us, but it's not saying that in this document.
Okay. Yeah. So that
Because it's essentially saying exercising the powers, duties, and responsibilities of the board in good faith with reasonable judgment consistent with the intent. Doesn't really say what you just said.
Mhm.
So that would have to be amended.
Okay.
That's unless I hear anybody opposing to that.
And to your point, Madam Chair, for right now, we understand that somebody else new from that position, they may interpret that completely totally different. And now we're like at odds.
That's I'm just going to say the same thing.
Right.
This has to survive.
Exactly.
As you know, this has to survive the person that's sitting in that
So I
job.
think documents always need to be clear. I'm not a
Especially,
big fan of gray. Gray just gets you in trouble.
well, not in this document.
Right.
But to your point, Ray, I think if you left it the way it was, and the example you just gave, you come to the board and say, hey, I'd like you guys to
Yeah.
take a vote and give me or give that position the
That's-
authority to do that. That makes perfect sense. But
Or reword it another,
blanket, hey, everything's yours, that doesn't.
or reword it
Yeah,
another way.
But my intent was not to say I want to take the responsibility.
No, I don't think
No, no.
We don't take that.
I would not.
And
I would not
that,
want
we
that.
know that wasn't your intent,
Yes.
but someone that's gonna pick this up and read it
Yeah.
and wasn't at this meeting or whatever is gonna
Oh.
read what they hear.
Yep.
Geez, I just told this guy to be on to say. It's a Steve Dalton board. I just said the guy will be out of town.
So should we table this and when the
So
full board
that
is here?
part, we can.
Yeah.
We can revisit that.
Yeah, we'll revisit that part. So then, let's see, the personnel board shall be responsible for maintaining personal records and.
When you go down to records, I think I wouldn't make that change either, because I think by kind of getting into the weeds where if that role under the policy, if that role of maintaining records wanted to go to HR, I think it would be a simple, it shouldn't go there automatically. It should be another thing where you come to the board and say, hey, you know what? I have an office or an assistant. This is when I'm going to maintain the records. And then you again, kind of what Steve just said, this should survive. It should be in general.
I guess it depends on what are in these files too. Some of it borders on personal.
Right. Well, that's what I said. It would be a simple.
I
vote to
wouldn't
say-
share any of our hiring or personnel records directly with this board. We're talking about all employment records.
Right.
We're not just talking
Right.
about an offer letter. I'd gladly share that with this board. I would gladly share the results of an interview evaluation with this board, but someone's deductions, insurance selections,
We don't.
Right.
Right.
birth certificates,
And
marriage
that's where you're
certificates.
coming from with this change.
It's exactly where I'm,
Yes.
they are confidential files
Okay.
that this board
guess
and
we could just-
previous review specifically said, we don't want this responsibility.
No, I
So that's
And,
why.
and I don't think it should lie on us either because we're not,
Right.
we're
Right.
essentially not employed by the town.
And then, I don't know, again, we only have a
And
couple
it is
minutes. I don't know
personal.
where they maintain these records 10 years
I
ago.
don't either. Hey,
anyway,
Good luck finding.
We've been centralizing, but they're
No,
everywhere.
I'm saying before there was HR, I'm
They're
not sure
everywhere.
where these records were kept, nor do I want to know.
Mhm. Yeah. Yes. So, anybody else have any, I mean, the one thing that we ask is the reword, the,
Yep, of course.
revisiting of section, 1.2.2.
Like I said, I think it's pretty good the way it was, but, and you're right. A lot of the day-to-day things, you know, whether we.
Exactly.
You
We
list
don't
them,
want to
come-
hold
right,
something.
you list all that,
Exactly.
it could be a, no, almost like
So,
a list of,
If it's
hey,
reworded.
here's the 6 things that we think the board should delegate to HR.
Uh-huh.
I mean, if the board is open to having those one-on-one conversations, we
Yeah.
leave it the way that it is and
Yeah, I think so, because.
it's fine that way. You know what I
Fine.
mean?
Yeah.
I just want to go back really quick to section 1.1-4 definitions. I want to
Okay.
just make sure that there isn't any issue with these definitions as they are.
1.1.4.
It's just the definition of the
1.1-4.
employee.
Yeah, town employee, yeah.
Permanent, part-time versus temporary, that, you know, it's either a
No.
part-time employee or a temporary employee, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I have no problem.
No, I don't have it.
And then the temporary seasonal, we just, as long as we keep it under a threshold.
The parental leave, which was good,
Yep.
smart. Yeah, no, I'm fine with that, Ray. Are you fine with that?
I was hoping to be able to review it, not vote on it today.
Yeah,
This is
no, we
good.
will. Because he's gonna, change
I mean, I
a
make sense.
part of it.
but, You know.
Yeah.
It's not maternal, but paternal, because it's what it is now.
And I can
That's,
send you
that's the
the-
industry change.
Exactly.
I can send you the part
Parental.
5 changes also that,
Yeah,
Right. Yeah,
I'll
I'd just
send
like to
those
have
to
a
you.
whole picture, you know.
yeah.
Well, I'd really like to get a document and just vote on it, like to read it and digest it.
Yeah.
or
Nope, that's fine. We've been kind of working through this for some time. Okay. Any other questions regarding the bylaws? All right, so, Ray, do you have anything else that you want to bring to the committee right as of today?
off the top of my head, I couldn't, I have no idea.
Okay. Next meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, December 9th, 5 PM.
So you're gonna text me on the 8th.
Yeah, I'll text you on the 8th because,
I'm good?
So long as we're okay with that, I'll go ahead and set it.
At 5, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Works for me.
5 o'clock, we'll get you some agenda items.
Sounds good.
Well, status of open positions, personnel bylaws, and anything else that, will come up. Yeah. Any questions on that section of the bylaws that you sent to the selectmen? Please forward to us or
Absolutely.
let us know.
And again, I think it's, we gotta make it 2 minutes here, but I think it's something where they just need to know. Again, it wasn't a final document.
And that memo
Exactly.
says
Yeah.
that. It's not,
Mhm.
the board's not prepared to bring that to meeting.
Yeah, it's
No,
when- I was watching it and then
we are
it
not.
cuts off at the very, I don't know how it ended. It's like a movie I couldn't watch the end. If you watch.
It was we'd like to digest this and we'll bring you questions ahead of time
They
and
just
then
come.
ask you to come.
They left me hanging.
Yes.
Okay, so that's, all right, so are you good with that meeting date?
Yes, Tuesdays work, 5 o'clock works.
Okay,
I don't know.
all right, perfect.
I'll make it.
We can let Ellen and Matt know. And good, so Make a motion to adjourn.
I second your motion.
Adjourn.